And soon after Congressman Quayle's election, James asked me to attend a small town hall, a small reception in the congressman's new office here in Central Phoenix. And I said, by all means, I'd be honored to attend and get to know Congressman Quayle a little bit better. So as I walked through the crowd, there were, 50, 75, maybe 100 people crowded into a rather small congressional office, and we were all mixing and mingling and waiting for an opportunity to shake his hand and introduce ourselves. So as the evening thinned out a bit, I walked up to Congressman Quayle and introduced myself. Not only did he already know my name, he was aware of the Arizona Council for International Visitors. He had been briefed on our organization fully, had a comprehensive understanding of our role in U.S. foreign policy, and expressed a desire to continue on in the legacy of his former seat holder, Congressman John Shadegg. It speaks volumes for a man who is still rather young, entering politics. It shows a commitment and an understanding of our foreign policy needs and desires, and it shows a commitment to a local organization that is truly meaningful within our community. So with that, I would like to welcome and invite you to join me in welcoming Congressman Ben Quayle.
Well, thank you so much, Kyle. I'm very glad that James Ashley isn't here tonight, because I would have to deal with an overinflated ego after those little comments. But no, James is a great addition to our staff, and we're very happy to have him. And I want to thank Kyle for inviting me here tonight, and thank all of you as well. I want to start off by recognizing the National Council for International Visitors for their 50 years of great service. And listening to some of the stories tonight, and seeing how bringing people together and really getting involved in the process starts breaking down the barriers of preconceived notions. And that's going to help all of our countries going forward. And as the world grows more and more interconnected, I think that the National Council's mission is really more important than ever. And that's going to be a role that's going to be playing out over the next short term and in the long term. And it's not just on the civilian side, it's also has to be on the federal government side. Because diplomacy and maintaining strong relationships is going to be really vital for countries going into the 21st century. The Atlantic and Pacific Oceans once stood as barriers between the United States and the rest of the world. However, these vast seas cannot hold back the tides of the digital age. As we've seen the debt crisis that grips Europe, the economic woes of one small country can have enormous consequences around the globe. As all of you know, America faces a sluggish economy that has hit Arizona especially hard. Last Friday, the Department of Labor released more sobering news on the jobs front. An unemployment rate stuck at 9%, and not enough job growth to keep up with the new people entering the workforce. Turning our economy around is an immediate challenge for America, and is going to require bold action from leaders in Washington. However, there are global factors at play here as well. Forming and maintaining strong economic ties with other nations will be critical to turning our own economy around. Last month, President Obama sent the 3 free trade agreements for Colombia, Panama, and South Korea to Congress. 3 years was a little too long for those to sit on the sideline, but I'm very happy that they passed both the House and the Senate and were signed by the President, and they will be going into effect in the near future. By the Obama administration's own estimates, these 3 trade agreements will actually result in 250,000 jobs right here in the United States. These agreements will not only help our national economy, but they will have a direct impact right here in Arizona. According to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, more than 35,000 jobs in my congressional district, the 3rd Congressional District, are directly supported by exports. And that number will surely climb as these agreements are fully implemented and take effect in the near future. But it's not only our economies that are closely linked. America also shares security concerns with our friends and allies. The ability for our intelligence and law enforcement professionals to share information with our allies in real time is important for our national security. Our world is volatile. Dozens of unstable countries pose enormous security threats. But the United States cannot face these challenges alone. Diplomatic cooperation and intelligence sharing among countries is required. This is important as we deal with the ever-changing landscape. For instance, one of the changing landscapes is in the Middle East. The Arab Spring, though extraordinarily complicated and far from over, offers some hopeful signs in the Middle East and the rest of the world. Citizens in Libya, Bahrain, Yemen, and elsewhere rising up against authoritative regimes that have no place in the world. These individuals protest and organize despite threat of gunfire, torture, and death. Not only is the Arab Spring a testament to the power of freedom and liberty, it also demonstrates how incredibly connected the world is. The citizens' common cause spread like wildfire throughout the Middle East and throughout the world by using modern tools like Facebook and Twitter. And while the Arab Spring offers great promise, it also demands that countries work together to help shape and manage its ultimate outcome. For what started off as a quest for freedom, the process of filling the power vacuum has shown signs of halting the cause of liberty. Helping these countries break the bonds of tyranny and develop a free society cannot be shouldered by the U.S. alone. It will take a concerted effort from global partners. It is a moment like this where we need to take advantage of the relationships that we have forged over a number of years. However, cooperation with these countries is not something we should take for granted, nor is it something that only top government officials should be responsible for. Building and strengthening relationships with other countries is something that requires persistence and sometimes patience. Diplomacy should be carried out by local governments, local businesses, individuals, and communities. Organizations like this one are what make this work possible. I've been fortunate to have developed a relationship with members of the Parliament in the United Kingdom when they visited Washington earlier this year, and then when they came to Phoenix and met with my staff. They came at a very interesting time because it was right in the middle of the debt ceiling debate. It was actually the final week of the debt ceiling debate. But we were able to actually meet in the Rayburn Room and talk about how our process works. And I was inquisitive on how their process worked. They were confused by the various chambers of the House and the Senate and how the majority dictates what goes on in the House, and the Senate is supposedly the greatest deliberative body on the face of the earth, but we have a little bit of a rivalry in the House, so we don't like to say that too often. But it was a great chance for all of us to get together. We had people from the Conservative Party, from the Labor Party, and we were able to just build bridges, talk freely, and we exchanged our own information, so when I can go back to the UK, I can see them and see what they're doing in Parliament. And we had a great discussion. And so I was very pleased to be able to take a part of that. And I was also pleased to go with my wife Tiffany, and I were able to go to Israel on a trip in August with other members of the House. And it was an amazing trip where we were able to meet with leaders of Israel. We met with the Prime Minister, with the President, with other members of the Knesset. And we were able to meet with ordinary individuals, business owners, and talk about what was going on in Israel. And the one interesting part of it was at the beginning of the trip, this was in the beginning of August, there were protests going on in Israel about the state of the economy, about some of the economic problems that Israel has. And it was great to see. It was freedom and democracy working in action. And it was something that they hadn't really seen before because they'd always been having the threats from their various neighbors. And midway through our trip, that was when various terrorist organizations crossed the Sinai and entered through the Gaza and killed 7 Israeli civilians. It totally changed what everybody talked about. But it also opened the door for us to see what other countries are dealing with, what other people are dealing with. We in America, I often like to say that we, just being born here, actually, we won the birth lottery. And the other thing that I was saying, I was speaking over the other day at some refugees who are here in Phoenix who are working to get their citizenship, and hearing their stories and talking to them about what they have been able to overcome. and seeing the hope in their eyes of one day becoming United States citizens, and seeing what their culture is going to bring to our city and our state. It's something, if you haven't done it, if you haven't been to a naturalization ceremony, it is one of the most moving things that you will ever be a part of. And I like to take, and I appreciate every opportunity where we can always interact with people from other cultures and build those bridges and cross those divides. Because although you think it's just one person and one voice, that spreads when they go home. As was said by Alma and Dr. Mueller, that spreads to their communities, to their homes, to their families. And like I said before, it breaks down those preconceived notions. And then we can start building even broader connections. And like we can tell, our economies are linked. We live in a global society. And so we need to make sure that we're embracing this, because we have a lot to learn. And I've learned a great deal by engaging with these people. There's much we can learn from our foreign counterparts, whether it be in business or in government. We really can't afford to live with blinders on. We live in a global economy. If we realize this and embrace that fact, we as Americans have a lot to gain. I want to thank the National Council again for having me tonight and for all of the important work that you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Congressman Quayle. Before you exit the stage, I would like to invite Doug Brunke. Doug is our incoming board president at AZCIV, just took the helm in October, and he has words of appreciation and congratulations to a few of us in the audience this evening. So welcome, Doug. Thank you.
Thank you. Marty, could you come up, please? So I am the incoming president. I'm really honored to do that. I'm really honored to have you here, Congressman Quayle, and of course our other speakers. But we wouldn't be here without Marty. She's the president. She has been the president until October 5th, and she really kind of inspired a lot of us, as we went back to Washington in February and saw Sherry and met with, or at least listened to Hillary Clinton, and met with Senator Lugar, and really got inspired about what this organization does. And so Marty's been really instrumental. So thank you so much, Marty, and a round of applause for Marty. So we actually have we've created a Arizona Star, and Marty's been instrumental in that. Marty, I think it's somewhere here. It is. And so, Congressman Quayle, we'd like you to be the first recipient of the Arizona Star. And Marty, could you show it to everybody? Because I haven't seen it either, so I understand it's very impressive. It actually has a piece of copper, actual real copper that Freeport-McMoRan has created for us, and it's representative of what the Arizona Council for International Visitors does here in Arizona. So Congressman Quayle, thank you very much for your support.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And Sherry and Alma, could you also come up? We have a couple stars for you too, because you are stars.